Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome back to our coffee and conversation. And I am Craig, and I am one of your recovery coaches here at Capital Recovery Center. And as always, it's always a pleasure to be before you, share some good information. This is one of our support groups. We are providing information and we're sharing information on PTSD and SUDS. PTSD stands for post-traumatic stress disorder, and SUDS, substance use disorder. All right, and so without further delay, this article is brought to you by the recoveryvillage.com, and we're going to get right into it. And it says PTSD and co-occurring substance use disorder, coffee and conversation. And so I'm going to begin reading from the article, and so bear with me. So first aspect we want to talk about is drug abuse as a hindrance to PTSD treatment, right? It says substance abuse hinders the treatment and recovery process for any mental health condition. PTSD can be particularly complicated by substance use because recovery from PTSD requires a person to reconnect with memories, thoughts, and feelings, right, that they have suppressed or avoided. All right? Suppressed or avoided. Drugs can numb emotions and disrupt thinking and memory, making it difficult for people with PTSD to process trauma while actively using substances. By prolonging the avoidance cycle of PTSD, substance use can make PTSD last longer. It can prevent exposure therapy and other common therapeutic interventions for PTSD from working, right? And so drugs, alcohol can prevent the therapeutic intervention from working. Substance use can also worsen PTSD symptoms through the ways it disrupts sleep and can make prescription psychiatric medication less effective. Right? Got one person on the line. All right, Will. All right. So we got Will. He's on our virtual. All right. And so we're going to move right along. Without further ado, we're going to talk about effects of substance abuse on PTSD symptoms. People sometimes ask, can drugs cause PTSD? The answer is that they cannot cause the condition, but can increase the risk of PTSD by intensifying reckless and risk-taking behavior and exposing people to dangerous situations where they can re-traumatize. People who abuse alcohol or benzo often disassociate and end up in unexpected situations, including disturbing and violent ones. People who take large amounts of any substance, especially disorienting substances like alcohol and marijuana, can end up in places where they are less able to assert or defend themselves and where they have a higher risk of becoming victims of exploitation or harm. Right? It said even when substance abuse does not lead to re-traumatization, it worsens the symptoms of PTSD. In addition to prolonging the avoidance cycle and blocking progress in treatment, drugs ultimately worsen depression, anxiety, and trauma-related symptoms. Not only do many drugs directly cause these symptoms, but many others can also trigger them as residue effects, even in cases where substance use has not progressed to dependence. Negative feelings alleviated by the substance return with greater intensity as it wears off. This can quickly lead to a vicious cycle of escalating drug use. This becomes even more of an issue when substance use progresses to addiction and includes acute withdrawal symptoms. All right, and so sometimes when we take too much uh, alcohol or drug, we have to go into a detox to get the stuff out of our system to get back to some type of normalcy. And from there, it's recommended that people go to residential treatment or some type of IOP, uh, intense outpatient, program, intensive outpatient program. PTSD and smoking. Let's talk about. I never heard of this one, but I want to tap in on that and see what this is all about. It says research shows that people with PTSD smoke at higher rates when compared with the general population, and that smoking is highly correlated with the disorder. This is a significant concern for two major reasons. The first is that the link between tobacco use and a wide range of health concerns, including heart disease and cancer, is so clearly established that doctors focus on smoking cessation before any other behavioral changes they encourage their patients to make. All right, and so it says the other is that smoking has been shown to worsen PTSD symptoms. The stimulant effects of nicotine not only intensify hyperarousal and avoidance symptoms, but can also trigger intrusive symptoms. This is especially unfortunate because quitting smoking is even harder for people with psychiatric disorders. Smoking cessation rates are lower for people with PTSD. And so, as we already know, that smoking tobacco can cause a heart attack. It also can cause cancer, and it also can worsen a person who already has PTSD symptoms. What about another substance? And that is PTSD and alcohol, right? So it says alcohol is a popular drug abuse because it is accessible, legal, and socially accepted. In addition to these social aspects, alcohol is frequently chosen for its specific properties. Among the reasons that PTSD and alcohol use disorders are common, comorbid conditions are the numbing effects of alcohol and its efficacy in blocking traumatic emotions and memories. All right, so alcohol is used as a numbing factor for people who drink and also with PTSD. Unfortunately, alcohol use makes PTSD symptoms worse. While alcohol can temporarily blot out painful memories and feelings, these usually come back stronger after its effects wear off. Because alcohol is a depressant, it worsens depressive symptoms and affective symptoms of PTSD, such as emotional numbing and irritability. Alcohol also disrupts sleep and can even trigger worse nightmares than those people with PTSD already experience. Heavy alcohol use can also cause dissociative episodes in which people engage in risky or self-destructive behavior or expose themselves to situations where they are vulnerable to re-traumatization. And so anytime we use alcohol or drugs, it becomes a mind-altering uh, substance, especially when you use it tremendously, and whereas it comes to the point where you need a detox. And so the article says that you can leave yourself vulnerable, right? Because now it's a mind-altering substance. You're not in your right state of mind. Sometimes we can. They say alcohol is a depressant, so sometimes people get drowsy, sleepy, and you can become. If you already have PTSD, you can be re-traumatized. All right, PTSD, and it's a major one. Marijuana. The reason I say this is a major one because just like alcohol, marijuana is becoming more of a socially accepted, legal uh, drug, and so we have to be mindful of its effects as well. All right, it said marijuana is becoming increasingly socially accepted and more frequently sought as a source of relief for a large number of mental health disorders. Unfortunately, in addition to its calming effects, marijuana has dissociative properties that can amplify the dissociative symptoms of PTSD and facilitate emotional blunting and avoidance. Research shows that the endocannabinoid system in the brain, or the natural brain-made equivalent of cannabis, plays a significant role in PTSD. In other words, marijuana and PTSD affect the same part of the brain. This is one reason that marijuana can provide relief for PTSD, but it comes at a cost. As marijuana use increases and tolerance develops, these symptoms in the brain work even less well. In addition, heavy marijuana use can trigger paranoia, anxiety, and worsen PSD symptoms like hypervigilance and hyperarousal. So I know a lot of these terms and words that I'm reading are fairly new because they're new to me as well. However, it's always good to learn and get some new information that can help us uh, and help us in the long run to at least be attentive, what to look out for, and to be more aware of what's going on. If we are experiencing some of these effects, we at least know, say, well, this could be the cause. It could be the smoking of cigarettes. It could be the smoking of marijuana. It could be the use of alcohol. It could be the use of drugs. And so we have to be mindful of that. Very, very important, because if someone already has PTSD or underlying mental illness, and now they incorporate substance use disorders, now you got a mixture of both, and so now we what they call co-occurrent. So now there is a dual diagnosis or dual dynamic that have to be addressed. Let's talk about something else. Statistics on PTSD and drug abuse. PTSD and substance use statistic, we're talking about stats, show significant relationship between these conditions. All right, and so a lot of times we don't always hear the numbers or the stats, but today we're going to go over a few. It says around 33% of veterans seeking substance abuse treatment have comorbid PTSD. All right. And it says about 50% of people in inpatient substance abuse treatment also have PTSD. These are some big numbers, 33%, 50%. Now it says nearly 80% of women seeking substance abuse treatment have lifetime history of sexual or physical assault. People who abuse opiates and cocaine report higher rates of exposure to trauma than users of other substances. People with PTSD are at least 2 times more likely than the general population to have an alcohol use disorder. 2 times more likely. And the last one talked about 75% of veterans with PTSD have a co-occurring substance use disorder. All right. And so people who have been in the military, people who have witnessed or experienced some traumatic event to them or someone that they know, they are more likely at a 75% rate, more likely to have co-occurrence. So we know there's some serious issues. We know that those who are in the military, who go to war, they are what I want to say, they are given it a large task, a big responsibility to defend uh, people who they don't know, people they never met, but the love of their country and for their commitment to the military. They have undergone some of these illnesses, right? Also, people who are first responders and people in average communities, no matter if you're from an urban setting or for a suburban or rural setting, we all can, to some degree, can be exposed. Not saying that everyone, but a large number of people have been exposed to PTSD or substance use disorder. All right. And so the last one we want to talk about before we go, and that is treatment for PTSD and co-occurring substance use disorder. It says, while there is no single best treatment for comorbid PTSD and substance use disorders, research has shown that successful dual diagnosis treatment uses an integrated approach. Common therapeutic approaches include cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, cognitive processing therapy, CPT, and prolonged exposure therapy, PET. Formal Pharmacotherapy can also be helpful in reducing PTSD symptoms and preventing people who are in treatment for PTSD from resuming substance use. One intervention developed specifically for people with dual diagnosis, PTSD, and substance use disorder is seeking safety. This systematic manual-based intervention addresses several issues, including decreasing high-risk behavior, setting boundaries, managing emotions, and coping with triggers to use substances. It says another program developed for clients with PTSD and substance use disorder is Transcend, which combines approaches from psychodynamic therapy, CBT, and 12-step treatment programs. All right. Research has shown that both seeking safety and Transcend effectively treat co-occurring PTSD and substance use disorder. All right. And so, with all of that said, as always, you can go online, retrieve this information for yourself if you want to reread it or rewatch this program. But if you just want to grasp it and take it all in at your own leisure, at your own pace, you can find this article at therecoveryvillage.com. All right. And so we're going to try to, we have one more group this week. We have a group that coming on, a family group at 5:30. But on Thursday, check us out, and we're going to share one more article on PTSD and substance use disorder, because this is PTSD Awareness Month. Until the next time, Will, take care, man, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.